Good evening to everyone. Yeah. We got lovely spirit in the house. Medea's in the house. And to each and every one of you out there online, thank you for joining us. Bob is handling the sound. We are so grateful and thankful to be with you this fantastic Wednesday. This is Kitchen Conversations. And so we are ready to step into that place of uncomfortableness, because one thing that we know, that spirituality, the presence of spirit, God, light, source, whatever you call it, it's right where you are. And in the midst of all the chaos, we must recognize. So first, let us just join in and take a breath and breathing in this moment. Let's embrace our world with prayer, with the knowing that the I Am presence, the divine, magnificent Spirit of God is in each and every one of us, and that we have been called to a higher awareness of consciousness. We've been called to a greater yet to be. And so the past must be lifted up, healed, and released. So in our hearts, in our daily practice, this is something that we must do in our daily practice, in our daily walk of forgiveness of ourselves, of others, of our family, of people that have different political views of life. So in this moment, we know that God is right here, right now. And so in that knowingness, we know that none of us are free as long as one of us is in change. Maestro?
free, free.
Yeah, 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 Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, Solomon Burke. Love that song. It's perfect for kitchen conversations, because it's telling the truth. So, as we get prepared for tonight, some of you know I just came back from Alabama. I took a group of us there, and it changed my world. It really changed my world. We did a lot of the museums, as I told you. There would be more information coming out. The Legacy Museum, if you haven't been, it's truly amazing. We did Birmingham, the 16th Street Baptist Church, and I also did the Freedom Riders while I was there. And the fact that an exhibit is coming to town, the African American Museum is sponsoring. The buses are coming. The buses are coming. And it starts June 17th, this Friday. We as a community will go June 19th. On Juneteenth, a way of celebrating the magnificent freedom that we're supposed to be living and we're working on right now. So let's get prepared for tonight. I want to share this with you. Wait a second here. Alrighty. The flag, the Constitution up underneath that, which stated that we all are created equal, and this divine right that is every human right to live a life of equality, to be honored. One of my new awarenesses is the whole word minority just rubs me wrong. Because, and I share with everyone that, in thinking they're politically correct, saying the minorities. And I said to someone, I said, when you say that a group is a minority, you're automatically saying that that group is less than. Minority is not the majority. And it is something that I'd love to see in our languaging, because we have to have new languaging. We have to find new ways to express and to call anybody that's not white, because minorities are anybody that's not white. Anybody that's not white. And it's like, okay, come on, we have to wake up to that, to recognize that sets a separateness. We're all human beings. And so just food for thought, something to think about. Freedom Riders. I had the divine pleasure of going to the museum there in Alabama. We stayed at a very cool place, very close to a lot of the museums. We stayed at the Embassy Suites there. And it was also, you could feel the energy of being in this space that maybe a block away, they walk the slaves down the street to be auctioned off in shackles. And you could still feel, I could feel some of that energy. And so there was the Rosa Parks museum that was close around there. And going to the Freedom Riders was very interesting because I was taught a little bit about the history, but not really, not really. And so I didn't realize that the Freedom Riders were based on the nonviolence of Mahatma Gandhi. And so it came from, the Freedom Riders started in 1961. They were called, they were started by the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE, which was the group CORE. And it was a joint union of black and white that came together to help the segregation that the law had been passed, that people now could ride on buses in any place. The segregation wasn't supposed to be there, but down south, they didn't care about the law. They were still doing what they wanted to do. So it says the Freedom Riders, a group of white and African American civil rights activists who participated in freedom rides, bus trips through the American South in 1961 to protest segregated bus terminals. So it was whites only for bathrooms and water fountains. You couldn't go into a lunch counter and order food. You'd have to go around the back if they served you. Bus counters and stations in Alabama, South Carolina, and other southern states. The groups were confronted by a police officer arresting them, some horrific violence all along the route that they took. And a lot of them gave up their lives for this, the right for all people to be able to travel. You know, there are many stories about African Americans trying to travel through the South where you could be killed or taken if you looked the wrong way, was in the wrong area at the wrong time. It was dangerous for people of color to travel in the 60s. And that's not that long ago. That's not that long ago. And so, you know, I have said this, that one of the things that I find very, well, it's not interesting, it's heartbreaking, but it's what it is that the system of slavery went from chains to legislation to now policing and to jails. So as I had this conversation with someone, slavery still exists, it's just in a different format. And so we, as some people ask, well, why would that need to be in church? Why would we need to have this kind of conversation? And I have said that those of us that have a spiritual grounding, that believe that God is in all, that what better place than to lay down roots and be able to have open conversations about our racial inequality for us to move forward. Because without that, we are guesstimating what somebody thinks or assuming what somebody thinks. And this is not about guilt. I love this quote, and I don't know if I'm going to get it word for word, but Lyndon B. Johnson said this quote, that this is not a Southern thing, this is not a Northern thing, this is not a West Coast thing. This is an American problem. America. This is not a white problem or a black problem. This is an American problem. Racism is a big part of America. And so we have not wanted to address what that is. And for me, I know that I believe that the presence of spirit is in everything and everyone. And does that mean I have all the answers? No. But it does mean that I have a heart that's open. And I also have a heart that's about movement toward action. Because without action, we are stuck in a space of just settling. And I have been there a time or two myself. So, CORE, the Civil Rights Movement for the Freedom Riders, they also aligned with Martin Luther King. One of the early freedom riders was John Lewis. He gave so much to our country. You know, his slogan, you see a lot of people wearing his T-shirt that were wearing the slogan, "Get in good trouble." You know, he was definitely one of the forefathers there. It says, taking a leading role in sit-ins, picket lines, the Montgomery bus boycott, Freedom Riders, and the 1963 March on Washington, the group worked alongside Martin Luther King and the civil rights leaders throughout the 50s and mid-60s until in 1966, under new guidance, it turned its focus from civil disobedience to becoming a black separatist and black power organization. So the core founding, you find that this was young people, and not all young people, but people that understood that the way that we were treating people, that something had to change. And so, you know, on my trip to Alabama, I realized that there's so many Confederate things, flags and Confederate statues, and you know, the bridge. The bridge that we walked over at Selma, the Edward Pettus Bridge. He was a Confederate general that really despised black people. And so I share these things not because there's a blame or shame, but I realize one of the things that I believe that the Legacy Museum has done so beautifully is that they have started a way to honor our ancestors. And I realized that I had never wanted to know my ancestors on my mother's side, or my father's side for that matter. And so this has really inspired me to find out who my ancestors were, who walked that walk before, to give them a name, to recognize that because of them, I'm here. Because of them, I'm here. And I think that's so beautiful and so powerful. So my family, we have started to put that into place. And you know, as heartbreaking as some things are, to see who we were in the past, we just can't ignore that. We have to get the dirty laundry out of the closet. You know, it's like having a family member that is an alcoholic or a drug addict, and there's a big elephant walking through the house that nobody wants to say that, all right, for 2 weeks maybe they're cool, and then after that they go off the rails. This elephant is walking around our world. So we have to bring love and light and conversation to this past that is still present. And I believe it's still present because we haven't been able to sit at the table together and talk about it. We haven't been able to sit at the table and share. This is one of the stories that's unkind. No, unkind is mild. It was brutal. But these are the things we have to be able to have the conversation about. On May the 14th, 1961, a Greyhound bus was the first to arrive in Anniston, Alabama. There was an angry mob of about 200 white people. They surrounded the bus, causing the driver to continue past the bus station. The mob followed them in their automobiles, and when the tires on the bus blew out, someone threw a bomb into the bus. And that's one of the pictures I thought I had. I did have it. I don't know what I did with it, to tell you the truth. But I'm sure that's one of the pictures that you're familiar with, of seeing that they blew out the whole front part of the bus. They had an amazing, they actually had the bus in Birmingham in the museum there. But it was all still, you could see the wreckage, and all the damage, and it was just a blessing in that one that nobody was hurt. The Freedom Riders escaped the bus as it burst into flames, only to be brutally beaten by members of the surrounding mob. There are so many of these stories that the fear, and that's what I see now. I see people, the fear, the young man that was in Buffalo that would believe that we're trying to, anybody, the whole lie of being, we're going to erase the white race. We're going to erase people. It's a sickness. I think it's kind of like a sickness, and so I have to keep my heart open to be a space of love and action, to share history, to share things that can open people up to have conversation and to see that, hey, we don't have to believe all of these stories. So let's just take a breath. That's a lot. Let's take a breath. So recognizing that in this time, I'm excited to go this Sunday to see the exhibit here in San Diego. It's an interactive exhibit, and it's outside, so that's really good. It's outside. A wonderful opportunity. On Friday night, when they open the exhibit, they're actually going to have a few of the real Freedom Riders that are still alive. They're going to be there at the live exhibit. And one of the things that I think that the awareness that's taking place right now, that's coming up, that was great when I was in Alabama to see so many families, white and black, that were there at the museums learning, and little ones that were learning, and they were asking questions. And when we walked over the bridge, there was a family in front of us, and two of the little girls was asking, why are we doing this? These conversations have to be had, and when people can share the light, it's a beautiful thing. It's an incredible thing when we can share that light and not be afraid of our past. We can't be afraid of our past anymore. We can't be afraid of the elephant. We have to let it out. So every time we come to you on Kitchen Conversations, we're coming from a space of love and light, and we are coming to share with you things of the past, things maybe that we can do in the future. And I'm really open. We encourage. I love having people on the show. I thought I was going to have an African folk teller tonight that I met in Alabama. She tells folk stories, really beautiful, about history, about people coming together. And so we will have her in the upcoming months. Next month, I think I have her scheduled. But I love having people on the show that want to express that, and it doesn't have to be what I feel or think. One of the things about having an open dialogue is that the heart has to be open enough to be able to have a conversation with anyone about anything, to be able to embrace a different point of view without anger or hatred in your heart. And so the more we expose ourselves to things that weren't pleasant and find a way of having peace and in our heart, one of the people that went with me to Alabama shared with me that they were having some dreams that they were being hung. And, as I said, lynching, it's not a black thing, it's an American thing. That's our history. It's our history. So the Freedom Riders, the young people that came out of college, that were civil rights activists, that were deciding to make a change in the 60s, the late 50s and the 60s, coming from the north, coming down to the south. You know, some of them knew they would have these group settings where they'd come together and break bread together. And so they knew that they were going to be probably beaten. That's something to know, that you know that you're probably going to be met with violence. And they were always given the opportunity that this may be more than what you've bargained for. But more than not, the people said yes. They said yes. And so because of that, that was a commitment. That was a commitment that people made. And making that commitment, that gave leadership, that gave hope, that gave encouragement. And we're at that space now where we need people to stand up. If you see something, say something. You know, I have found myself that at times I saw the cops, and I would never want to be a police officer. That's a tough job. But we have to have a better system that supports all. And so I found myself getting out of the car. I saw them detaining someone, and I just got out and stood far enough back with my phone, taking a video, just to have a presence there, you know, to say that enough is enough. Some of the footage that we see on YouTube that's still happening, this does not have to be. It doesn't have to be. To do your job, you do not have to kill people that are unarmed. We just don't. And so we want to find a better way. And if that's getting involved in your community with community service, where you go and sit at the meetings and share what your concerns are and how you can participate in your spiritual community, get involved. We do a lot of different things here that inspire our Spirit in Action, also our Racial Equality Project, which is our Racial Equality Project is Kitchen Conversations. We also, like, we're going to the museum, we travel to Alabama. So we're constantly doing things, and our webpage has a lot of information on tools and books and things to up-level your consciousness so that you can find what calls to you. You can find out how you can participate. You can find out, video, yeah, movie. Yeah, we haven't had in a little bit, but Bob is right. We used to do movie night once a month on Friday, and I think with the summer coming back, we might start that back. That'll be nice. Different movies and documentaries. So there's a lot of information that's available. It's just how you want to participate. And the more that we participate together, the more we grow together, the more we learn about each other, and the more that we can set aside this unreasonable fear that some of us have. So one of the other stories, there was a second bus, a Trailways vehicle, traveled to Birmingham, Alabama. And those riders were also beaten by an angry white mob, many of whom were brandished with metal pipes. You know, with a lot of these stories, the police did a lot of the beating. They did a lot of or they did not help. They stood there and allowed the mob, which was the KKK, to do it. The Commissioner Bull Connor stated that although he knew the Freedom Riders were arriving and violence awaited them, he posted no police protection at the station because it was Mother's Day. And so we see that these things have happened in our past, and they've happened in our present. And it's an opportunity. I believe with all the chaos that's happening, that this is an opportunity for the new awareness to be birthed, for new light to come through, for us to experience light and love in a different way. And so I know this has been a little heavy. So what I'd like to do is have us just do a little process. 1 second here. Have us do a little process here. Because with all things, connecting to source, connecting to God is the absolute. I do believe we cannot find the solution or the solutions that are possible without that connection. And I know that there are times that we all get afraid of what's possible. But when we know that God is first, we know that we have an anchor. So I'm going to ask you, Maestro, I'm going to ask you to breathe with me. Just take a breath. Just take a breath and allow the music to move through you. And any fear or anger that you're having right now, let's just take that and put it in the God box. Just take it in. If you're afraid of what your tomorrow is going to be, if you're afraid that you will not ever have racial equality, you are afraid. Whatever that fear is, let's just put it down, put it in the box. Not by mistake, that it is absolute, that because of you, you are a gift to this world at this moment, at this time. And you have light and love and new ideas to bring to this space. For all that's going on, there's not one solution. There are multiple solutions, and you are an avenue for that. When we open our heart up to that, we open up to what's possible. One person can make a difference. Doesn't mean it can change the entire world, maybe not, but it can change one person in your life. That's a shift in the whole paradigm. Take a breath. So as you breathe in the divine essence of all things, know that you are divinely guided. Know that the source of light is operating in and through you. Don't be afraid to step up and step into the unknown. Because this is all the unknown. Where we are right now is the unknown. And from this space, we can get anywhere. We will become the new freedom riders. We will become the ones that speak up and speak out, that stand together, that are awake to recognize that the world is here for growth, for change, for expansion, for a new day. And we are the ones being called. to all that is. We are connected to the divine source. So, I want to thank you all for being a part of this magnificent time. We are for you being here and being present. I'm looking for you on Sunday. Well, Friday is the Juneteenth. Well, Friday is the African American exhibit in Oakland on Friday. In Oakland, Friday, June 17th. We're going Sunday. This Sunday is Juneteenth. So what better day than to go Sunday? I'm very excited. And we'll have lunch together, you know. It is. It's really beautiful. Great. This is our Divine Conscious Giving time. I want to thank you, Universal Spirit Center, for all you do, for always supporting, for being that space, for being that divine light. It is an absolute joy and pleasure to share this community with a consciousness that is aware of our global community, that understands that we are a global force, and that the work that we do, we not only do here in San Diego, we do all over the world, and we give back to the world. We give back to organizations and people and places that are doing things, and that's important. That's important to spread that love around. And also, as well, it's important to know what we doing here at Universal. Let me just point to you, see our QR code there. So easy, just use your phone, snap it, it goes directly to our PayPal. It's wonderful, it's quick, it's easy. As we are expanding our presence and our visibility on Facebook, on YouTube, we also have, I don't have a slide for it, but I've started Thankful Thursdays. It's a Facebook Live that I do with the community, with different people in the community. We come on about 2:30. It's just about 15 minutes, and we share some beautiful thoughts, some stories, things that we're thankful for, or things that the community is doing and that we're involved in. So check us out. You can chat with us live. If you want to be on, send me an email, Gino, G-I-N-O, at Universal Spirit Center, that's CENTER.org. And let me tell you what else is going on in our community, because we are busy. This is so beautiful. This is Borg Hill, one of our magnificent practitioners, and it is a grief support group. And it's not just if you've lost a loved one, it could be that, or maybe it's an animal, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a home that you've moved from one place to another. It is a fantastic group. She is an amazing teacher. So check it out on our webpage, universalspiritcenter.org. There will be more information about it as well. She had one, I think about 3 or 4 months ago. It was fantastic. A Day in History. We've started doing a day in history because with our Racial Equality Project, being able to just see what our history, what our American history is. So let's take a breath. Police killed unarmed black teen in Tampa, Florida. Civil unrest for days. On this day, June the 11th in 1967, a white officer shot and killed Martin Chambers, an unarmed black 19-year-old. 3 young men who witnessed the shooting said Chambers had stopped running and had his hands up against a fence when he was shot. To overcome racial inequality, we must confront our history. And that's a very powerful awareness. I get that information off of the Equal Justice Initiative. They have a Facebook page. It's amazing work that they do, along with the Legacy Museum. And also, next Wednesday is Awakening Wednesday, and we will have one of our very own, Reverend Sherry, will be here talking. What if Jesus had been gay? Hey now. Please come on out and come out and support. Check us out and see what's happening, what Reverend Sherry has to say. And as I've said a few times tonight, we will be going on Sunday, June 19th, to the San Diego African American Museum of Fine Arts. The buses are coming, that's the exhibit. We will leave after the second gathering. We'll go to Mission Valley. We'll get on the trolley there. We'll go down to Market Street, and we'll go to the courtyard. There'll be nice vendors there for us to eat, and then we'll go to the exhibit. The exhibit is free, so it's going to be a fabulous, fabulous Juneteenth, a beautiful way of celebrating freedom and recognizing some of the beautiful lives that stepped up and said yes. So I'm very excited about that. Also, as I said, we are a very active community. And just this past weekend, that one came up a little short there. It's hard to see it. Let me see if I can, okay, it's not going to. But we did 2 different marches for the ending of gun violence. Reverend Kevin and I think Lee and Viraj went to Moms Defending Gun Violence, and I and Lorraine and Doug and Sarah, we did the March for Our Lives, which was downtown, and that was actually a national one. They marched in Washington, D.C. as well. I think they had like over 100,000 people that showed up for that, to let our representatives know that we need some change for the gun violence. It has to stop. So we are at that point in time. I want to thank you all for being here tonight and for sharing in this divine space, knowing that right where you are magnificent, and all that you do is a beautiful gift. We're grateful and thankful that you're here, that you are participating, and that you are in our world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great evening. We'll see you Sunday. You know we have 2 gatherings on Sunday. Our first one, the 8:30 gathering, is very meditative, very quiet, and then the 10:30 we have our full band. It's rocking and a rolling, and we're gonna have a good time this Sunday. So it is Father's Day this Sunday. Oh yes, for any of you out there, we will have a slideshow of fathers. I think we'll have a table as well. So if you have a picture of your dad that you'd like to bring, you can bring that as well on Sunday, or you can send Lee at universalspiritcenter.org a picture of your dad, and we'll add it to the slides that we already have. So it is Father's Day, it is Juneteenth, it is a day of divine love and joy, and so we are happy to share and be with you. We look forward to seeing you. Have a magnificent, fantastic, wonderful